Oh, like, back again. Bit different this time around, obviously, as I'm not holding the camera. With the dogs, with my missus, at a lock that I was at on the 3rd of October. And fuck me, it's changed a lot since then in terms of a lot of trees have been chopped down, a lot of tree felling, and a lot more tracks have been made since then. In general, in all honesty, it actually threw me off how different it looked. Even Google Maps took me to a totally different entrance to this place from the last time. But I thought I would take advantage of this location to speak about a few other things that have been going around in my autistic brain, as Clive would like to refer to it as. And it probably will start with, albeit admittedly I might ramble, go off tangent, but there is method in my madness, I intend to segue if possible. I'll start with the fact that the SNP have sort of vindicated me yet again by the fact that I released a video, released as if I'm some sort of music producer. I posted a video similar to what I'm doing right now, where I spoke about Scottish identity as well as independence. And in said video I made multiple references in my never-ending rambles to the fact that there is an attack on the Scottish identity. And within the space of, 2 weeks, the SNP released their latest shitey little paper, their prospectus for independence, right? Quote unquote, of course. The latest being about citizenship. And in this fucking publication it speaks about an inclusive national identity, which if that doesn't ring alarm bells, I don't know what will, really. There's no elaboration, of course, on what they mean by this, because it's supposedly one of those things that just goes without saying, apparently. Is that so? Now, the term inclusive national identity isn't new. In fact, it was referenced multiple times in their white paper in 2013/14. You know, the paper that they released prior to finding out that they weren't actually able to just retain EU membership in the event of obtaining independence from the UK. They also mentioned it in their national outcomes going far back as 2007. There was this concept of an inclusive national identity. So it's not a new term, but yet again, here it is. Here it is again. And on top of that, there's all this pish about progressive methods to obtain citizenship in Scotland. But there was a part that really irritated me. And that was when Hamza Yusuf was speaking about the release of this new paper, which of course none of these people have anything to do with, they're just fucking puppets, we know this, but there was a specific quotation where he mentions the fact that Scotland's population is ageing, therefore we need to attract more people here. Yet again, another reference to the fact that we're not having enough children, therefore we need to import people to have children on our behalf. And even if these people don't have children on our behalf, they'll just import more to have children on their behalf. But the crux of the issue here is that the more that they speak this way, and the more that they act upon the policies that they intend to implement, the more it becomes abundantly clear that us as an ethnic group, something that can't be acknowledged, we're just white and Scottish, we are expendable. So, if Scottish people can be replaced, if we can import people to come here and be just as Scottish as us, what is a Scots? You know? An inclusive national identity. We have gone so far past the point of no return in many respects, because an inclusive national identity is realistically what Graham Campbell said all those years ago at the SNP conference, where he said that the future of Scotland will be one where we can identify a Scot non-racially, aka any Tom, Dick, Abdul or fucking Abraham can come here, be just as Scottish as you, because we're all one. Now, I ain't nationalism, but I said I would attempt to segue this into something else that's been irritating me, but it really is. about global citizenship. This is the idea that they're all promoting, and it's so repugnant to me, especially how they're now going after the youth in our country. Something that a nationalist would never fucking do. Arguably, yes, you could make the argument that nationalists, if there was a nationalist force in government, they would propagate the children, propagandise the youth to believe in nationalistic sentiment. And albeit, yes, it's egregious in and of itself on the grounds of consistency, in the sense that you should leave the youth alone, you should leave politics out of the youth's lives. But compare that to what we're seeing now, because the argumentation is either globalism, one world government, the eradication of national identity and national sovereignty, as well as the nation state, or nationalism. I know which one I would prefer to see in a school child's jotter. However, global citizenship is there. It's one of the tropes that they refer to constantly on a daily basis, as well as learning for sustainability. And that's just a small segment of some of the shit that children have been taught about in schools. LGBT, of course, critical race theory, climate change / climate anxiety, and then you've got the General Teaching Council of Scotland. This is an organisation that effectively makes the rules for teachers to adhere to in Scotland. So they say it's like the academical equivalent of law. You know, they've got sections in their PDFs for teachers to adhere to that speak explicitly about social justice and immigration normalisation, etc. Children are being presented as shit. Children are being sort of nudged into a world where they have to accept and embrace diversity and all its wonders. Why? Because it all goes back to this idea of an inclusive national identity. And in many respects, it's got to be one of the most vulgar aspects of all the insidious policies that are taking place at present. As far as I'm concerned, irrespective of which policy it is, when you go after the youth, it's unforgivable. But some of the shit that these children are being taught in schools these days is disgusting in and of itself. But when you look beneath the surface level, you realise it's part of a much wider plan. They want the youth, which are the adults of tomorrow, to accept this new world. A new world where Scotland will cease to exist. A new world where Germany will cease to exist. A new world where Poland will cease to exist. Why? All in the name of diversity and inclusion. It's our fucking strength, apparently. We're not having enough children. We could go into the nitty-gritty as to why that is. Of course, it's a multifaceted issue. But not one fucking policy that our government, as well as Westminster, are pushing, does anything to reverse the trends at play. No. The solution has always been, and will always be, immigration. So you've got your feministic policies, your feministic lifestyles, you've got LGBT, you've got declining sperm in general, you've got the sort of lifestyle choices that many a woman makes in this day and age, where they prefer a career over marriage, and then you've got men at the same time who prefer to just go on Tinder. You've obviously got, as I've said in the previous video, the idea of a post-industrialised nation. There's a multitude of different factors at play here. But not one politician, not one suggestion, not one sentence, not one piece of legislation or policy is put into place to rectify these issues, reverse these trends. No, they're exploiting the trends that they've created. Children should be at the very bare minimum taught that marriage, parenthood, etc. is an admirable choice, or a sort of lifestyle choice that should be pursued or could be pursued. But instead of that, it's all about careers, jobs, finding yourself. Yeah. While they import or wish to import people to have children on your behalf. So when you hear the term inclusive national identity, really think about what it entails, the bigger picture. Because at the end of the day, when I'm dead and gone, when you're dead and gone, when our children are dead and gone, will there really be a Scotland left?